Okay, I think I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Mr. Hankins.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a quorum, everyone is here with the exception of Lori, who is on Zoom, so we have all 7 board members represented. Mr. Hankins, you want to introduce the guests, or how are we going to try to do this?
Sure. Jim Malasich, Janet Gentry, Houston Truman, John Hanson, Casey Elliott, Randy Braddock, Chantel Pilan, Eric Paddock, Turner Sabalstead, Casey Dushek, Clarissa Sandel, Morgan Sandel. All right, Kate Woolsby, Shelley Broder, Mike Hoffman, Cheyenne Gorsuch, Jim Nagel, Jennifer and Jill, sorry. Jennifer and Jason Mickelson, and then JP What?
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. First thing we have is review and approval of the minutes that were emailed to you in your packet. If you look at those and see if you have any questions or thoughts with changes we've made.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Been moved and approved to accept the minutes from the January 20th regular board meeting. Is there any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, the next thing we have is the review and approval of the claims and accounts. John, just continue, please.
Okay. Pull on each page individually. First page that I've had in the past, what I'll call your attention to is near the bottom of the page would be number. Our BMO MasterCard, you can see that the charge this month is $12,351.41. And that kind of runs on to the second page. I just if there were any questions about that first page or anything running over on the BMO map. Two, I'll mention one of those on the BMO MasterCard. You'll see item 10 on page 2. It says CPFCS class tuition. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Suzanne, is that for? Okay, so that's for Ken Conan's class that we're paying through that through our that's through our advanced Perkins grant. So we were able to get a class paid for her to help her gain more certifications with the possibility of eventually offering, well, Safe Serve eventually, but this course I think was more American American Studies. Any questions on anything else on page 2? Okay, we'll move on to page 3. Particular to point out there. Do you have any questions? Page 4. Item 2558, it's our Northwest Energy bill. See, it's getting a little pricey. Of course, we're in the winter months now, even though it's been a rather mild winter. Still, the bill for that was $10,431.16. That's gas and electric, as you can see. Question, page 4. It will on page 5. To specifically point out here. It. The last page, which contains the total number of claims for this period was 36. For a grand total of $50,000, $784.08. And that's for 31 venues. Final page kind of breaks down which specific funds we utilize to address those claims.
On the claims accounts,
I've moved to approve the claims.
we need a second to approve the claims and accounts. Is there any discussion or question? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we will change things around a little bit. We generally do comment and then do the superintendent's report. But tonight we'll do the superintendent's report. I think the first thing we have is a update from Dan McGee on the repair project at the Boag and Science and Industrial Arts Building.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you can hear me all right. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Patterson.
So yeah, we have Dan McGee here, Building Mind and Body. And they were here just recently on site with our general contractor, construction manager, Langlis Associates, and our architect from Intuitive Architecture. They were again looking at our basic facility and to complete some preliminary testing. Dan, go into the details.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give you a quick, we had a window specialist come down to do a little bit of testing, wanted to explore to figure out where our water infiltration. Gentleman was able to remove a pane of glass out of the Boag side, so on the welding shop side, and determined that, you know, as suspected, the window base pan was installed incorrectly, and that's where our water issue is coming from. We were going to remove the entire storefront system to really determine, but just in doing so, we were able to test with a bottle of water, and it showed the same path that we've been seeing anytime we get kind of a weather event. So that really helps us start to narrow down some solutions. So the next step is the general contractor is working on several options for an exterior fix, whether it's from sealer, insulation panels. So we're working on some square foot pricing. And within the next couple of weeks, I'll plan a meeting once we have some budgeting to sit down with the facilities committee. We'll have kind of a concept for what the different looks would be, and then start to put a plan together to see if we need to get a third party building envelope specialist to help us with the engineering science of, by putting a sealer on the exterior and insulation panel on the exterior of that, do we create another, what's called a dew point, that we'd be basically hiding other issues that might be present. And those will start to get formulated here over the next couple of weeks. It was all in all a very good visit. We were able to walk the entire building, looked at some of the other exterior exit doors that seem to be sticking at times. We think there's some fairly easy modifications to those. So when we looked at that overall budget that was presented in the settlement package, it was assuming a lot of replacement, and we feel that it just was poor installation, and we can remedy those things with a much simpler solution. What the good thing is I think that's going to help increase the number of things that we can correct, because we're not assuming a budget that is replacement of things, but rather removal, reinstallation correctly to mitigate that. So all in all, I think it was a really good process. Our schedule now is to get those square foot budgets, present it to facilities committee, pick a path, start the design, and look to have construction documents, permitting, anything that's required completed so that we can bid this project in late April, early May for as soon as the students are out of the building. We've got about 2.5 months to where we need to get this work done. I feel real confident in the minds that were present have some really good solutions that I look forward to be able to present here in a couple of weeks to that facilities group. And then obviously that would be for next month's board meeting. I would look to attend to present, kind of those findings and a recommendation going forward so that then the design team can complete those documents, get permits if required, and be ready for an early summer start of construction.
And
So-
Dan, you thought
Pretty simple. Go ahead.
we'd probably, so this is bids for the work along
Yes.
late spring, probably?
Yep. So the Langless and Associates, what they'll do is they're working with subcontractors now for all the budget pricing. And then once the actual design is done, they will put that on the street to other bidders to be able to get us the best possible price. An advantage that they have is they've got a whole host of sub trades that are going to be part of another project that they have going on in Dillon. So there's some very qualified subcontractors that are going to be interested in keeping their teams busy longer. So this could be a very attractive thing for some of those subs that are part of that, between the mechanical, the roofing contractor, the glazing contractor, the gentleman that was down from Butte to look at the glazing is actually one of their subs on this other project. So again, that management and oversight, having a team already in Dillon is going to be, I think, a really good advantage to the project from a bidding standpoint.
Anybody have any questions of Dan? Well, I was there and I'm like Dan, I was very impressed with Langless and the last guy out of Butte that found the problems that were there, and I think we're certainly on the right course. Josh, any questions of Dan or any thoughts?
I think Dan summarized it well. Trying to keep moving forward.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you
Dan.
so much, Dan.
Thank you.
All
See
right.
you later. Bye-bye.
All right, keep moving along then. We have assistant principal application review. And so we received a total of 12 or 13 applications for a assistant principal position. Reports that will be open this coming year due to Ralph's retirement. And we need 2 trustees to serve on the administrative search committee, along with myself, Ms. Ferris, Ms. Valak, and Mr. Millimack. I hope to schedule a day or time later this week for the committee to meet and to select finalists. This is Gary has described to me in the past that committee members would go ahead and take a look at those applications sometime in the very near future and in the very coming days, and then have an idea of who they would like to select once we meet as a search committee. Sounds about right?
It's kind of how we've done it in the past. It seemed to work well. If who's ever on the search committee can come in and look at the applications and score them the way that you prefer to do so, and then the committee can meet later in the week and we could decide who and how many we would like to interview, and then hopefully we'd like to interview them next week if it worked with our schedule and with their schedule. Some of them could be from out of state or from a long ways away in Montana. So anyway, at this point in time, I guess I'd like to know who would like to be on the committee. Mike?
As long as we can make my schedule work.
Okay. I can make it work if no one else wants to be on.
Gary, I think I had mentioned to you earlier that I would be interested and willing to do that. However, I do have complications next week. I would only be available through Wednesday, and then I would be out of pocket until March. So I don't want to hold up the process.
Thank you, Lori. I would imagine that if we interview 4, that they probably all wouldn't be done by Wednesday, I wouldn't think, would you, Josh?
Judging by where someone would be coming from, if they're gonna try to be here physically, yeah, it'd be tough.
Yeah. Mike, you want to be on? Anybody else?
Especially.
I get elected by default. Okay, I guess it will be Mike and myself,
Very good.
along with Mr. Patterson, Mr. Millimaki, Mrs. Ferris, Suzanne. Leave off anybody? Josh, Suzanne, Brock, and Audrey. Okay.
Mike, if you get a chance, just come by, they look at the applications, and Suzanne brought as well. And I'll let Audrey know tomorrow to kind of start looking through the application.
Yep.
Okay,
Mike, you pass me down a Kleenex, please. Just grab one is fine.
all right, next is the innovative educational tax credit result. So roughly $7.2 million was budgeted by the state this year for the innovative educational tax credit. And every doggone dollar was claimed in a record of 8 minutes. Fortunately, we were able to claim $24,000 in donations out of a possible $25,700 before time ran out. Of this amount, roughly $10,000 was specifically earmarked for a new specialized video camera system that utilizes a boom to enable recording from high in the air. For the remaining $15,000, I am working with our maintenance director to obtain quotes for boiler replacement, classroom floor tile replacement, painting, and additional library shelving. The project that we would prioritize would depend largely on the affordability of the quote. There will be, I think, in October, Susanna, another window open for claims that were incorrect. And so there will be another chance in October. I think there's over $200,000 that were claimed improperly. We would have had that extra $1,700. We'll make sure we keep everybody aware of that. Should anyone consider donating in the future. All right, spring enrollment. Our count day was Monday, February 2nd. Currently, we have 86 freshmen, 88 sophomores, 83 juniors, and 75 seniors, for a grand total of 332 students. That's down 15 students from the fall count, most of whom are 9th and 10th graders transitioning to homeschool or hybrid enrollment.
What is hybrid enrollment?
Hybrid enrollment means they're coming for some classes, but not all.
Oh, okay.
And so several of our homeschool students come for our elective courses because they are so phenomenal. Whether that be our art and music or our agriculture program. So we do have some students who participate in that one. We'll be investigating if there's reason we have 9th and 10th graders defective and why they still, if they still enjoy our elective courses, what we can do to encourage them to come back and take our core courses, or maybe provide some online and alternative in the future. Any questions about spring enrollment? Our Advanced Opportunity Grant. We just received the grant for next year's cycle. And that's the amount of that grant was $32,174. That's up a few $1,000s from last year, which I believe is $28,000 and change. This funding is primarily utilized to cover academic related expenses that parents or students might otherwise be required to pay out of pocket. 75% of that grant would be utilized to pay mostly for fees and expenses for travel and lodging for a lot of our club conferences and events like that. Or for any kind of material that they might need for a project that they might not be able to afford to pay for out of pocket. We can also use that to pay for a CTE course, should we wish to do so. And, but the vast majority has to be earmarked for replacing students' costs. Any questions about our advanced opportunity grant? Okay, let me see if I can pull that line. So, right. So I want to provide everyone with an update on the girls' locker room project. We're approximately 70% finished. And so I just wanted to kind of show you some pictures of what it looks like thus far. So that's the interior wall. If you can recall, it used to be like a somewhat of a pony wall that went mostly to the top of the ceiling. Well, we've fixed that now. We've completely framed it in, made it look very professional. We've added obviously a whiteboard there, mirror. We have added a door there as well. So you can see this is going out the 90-degree angle that bends back up the ramp. Now we have this as an extra barrier for privacy. In addition to that, we'll eventually have another double set of doors at the top of that ramp for a secondary level barricade, both privacy and protection. Let's see. More pictures. This is from the inside of the girls' PE teacher's office, which would be Mr. Keller's office. So that was the door that was adjoining the other office. So it's since been boarded up. We still have more work to do, but as you can see, there's no longer a door there. That's from one side and that's from the other side. This is the lady coach's office looking forward what would be Mr. Keller's office. Here are the windows that look out into the girls' locker room from the lady coach's office. So as you can see, we've got some makeshift lockers here that we plan to eventually take out and put some better lockers in there. We have some better ones in storage downstairs here. And what we did is we frosted these windows. As you can see, as you're looking into the girls' locker room, there's really nothing that you can see. Now, we have had some recent concern around from some of our young ladies that this still makes them feel uncomfortable. So this may only be a short-term solution that we have to fully address this summer, when we can actually get in here and have more time to do renovations. But that's what it looks like right now. That's viewing out into the locker room, and one of these views in. This is the view from the locker room into that coach's office. So I share these with you tonight in full transparency, just to let you know what we're doing and how things are going. Of course, we hope to be done by now. And as they say, the best plan of mice and men, we fall short. And that's where we're at now. I'm hoping we're planning on getting back in there. Right when we break we have the tournament. We have a Friday right before tournament for everybody to be gone. So we hope to get back in there and get some more completed. And then if we're being realistic, it'll probably after basketball season before we can really get in there properly to finish up those renovations.
Thank you.
Questions on the locker room project? Okay, next there's my February schedule to date. Let's see what's going on. We're in vacation time. Lots of committee meetings and things of that nature going on this week. I should probably also note, well, it's not noted in my report, I have recently been approved and voted to join the board of the YMCA. So I will be trustee at the YMCA. My first board meeting is coming up in a couple weeks.
Good.
So I'll be working alongside Mike, and I look forward to that opportunity. Already spoken with Mr. Rouse a few times, and I hope to learn more about the why and its outreach, how it affects students and youth in our community, and how we might be able to partner more in the future to make sure we're providing the best product for our kids, both whether it's in school, through the Y, or the greater community. All right, lastly, I'll get to my calendar proposal presentation. This is information only. I have a short slideshow that I would like to share with you, both trustees and those in attendance. So let's start from here. All right. So the reason for this counter proposal, I think it's important that I quickly explain briefly what the rationale is. Why are we doing this? So really it all boils down to one central focus, and it's about students. This is the students' first philosophy. And if we just think about simple math, we have two students here. We have Ronnie and Abby. Ronnie goes to school. He has 10 days less to prepare for his exams. Abby has 10 days more to prepare for her exams. Logically, we could be led to the conclusion that a student that has more time to prepare has a higher probability of being successful on those exams than someone that has less time to prepare. That's the grounding, that's the research, that's the main framework. So why? Why are some of the reasons? Again, more time to prepare for the ACT and AP exams in high school. All juniors have to take the ACT exam. That's how high schools are evaluated. Now in elementary, it's grades essentially 3 through 8. Well, 3 through 6 and 7 through 8 if you're a junior high, or 6 through 8 if you're a middle school. Those are the grade levels that we look at their achievement scores. In high school, it's only a one-shot deal. It's only juniors, and that's why every junior has to take it. Those aren't my rules. Those rules are set by both the federal government and our state government. And so that's why they are very important, because our entire high school is judged upon the performance of those juniors on those ACT exams. Advanced placement exams are for students that are interested in taking more rigorous courses. These exams, if you pass them, will count for college credit. And so that's why they are very important. Not all students take these exams. These are only those that feel like they have the capacity to push themselves with more rigorous instruction. Other reasons: better alignment with University of Montana, who begins August 24th this fall, and Montana State, who begins August 26th. With that, we think that in the future, there's potential for online dual enrollment courses offered through UM and MSU. So by starting earlier, students that would like to take advantage of potential online dual enrollment courses, they would have that ability to do so. But if we start later, they may not necessarily have that ability, or they may have to start them before we even get to school. Longer through-year breaks. There's potential for more strategically placed longer through-year breaks. What this does is help us balance the semesters out a little better. If you'll notice, looking at our current calendar, which I'll pull up here shortly, most of our breaks are pretty heavy in the fall and light in the spring. So that makes for a spring semester that really drags on and leads it to a higher probability of student burnout, trying to keep them on track and focused on their studies. So if we could provide more strategic breaks, we feel like that helps keep things fresh and give students some time to relax, recharge their batteries before coming back and taking up their studies once again. Also potential for better semester balance in the future. In an ideal setting, it would be great, and I'm not sure if we could ever achieve this or not. It all depends on the numbers and figures. If you don't know, the state sets requirements for what we have to have in terms of hours, and not necessarily hours in the school day, but how much time a student must be in school. It's 1,080 hours for first grade through 11th grade. It's 1,050 hours for senior. And so we have to design a calendar that makes sure that all of those students meet a minimum of that time. Often we build in a few extra days in case there's some kind of emergency. That's the restrictions that we have to play with. And so in the future, it'd be great if somehow we could be done with our finals before Christmas break. So that way you have the first semester that actually ends before Christmas break. We get that done. Students have that entire Christmas break, not to be thinking about exams, but enjoying the holiday season with their family and friends. When we start back in January, we're fresh starting a new semester. Now, again, the numbers are critical to that. With the current proposal that I made, we weren't able to do that and balance the semesters enough in order for the teachers to feel comfortable. Therefore, I did not put the semester finals first semester before Christmas. I put them back in January where we currently have. So what's our current reality? Current reality at BCHS, judged from our best estimates, 60 to 75 of our students are currently involved in FFA or 4-H, or some combination thereof. That accounts for roughly 25% of our total enrollment right now. Now, 100 plus students are involved in fall sports. That's football, volleyball, cross country, golf, and cheerleading. That's 30% of our enrollment. And I do realize that there's also some crossover because we do have some FFA and 4-H students that also participate in those activities as well. Finally, we have 155 students that are not involved in FFA, 4-H, or sports. That's 47% of our enrollment. So I do this to kind of give you an idea of the breakdown of our student body, to show and to demonstrate how diverse it is, what are students participating in, and those that aren't participating in anything. So the idea here is to try to create a calendar that addresses all these groups, which is the challenge that's currently set before us. So I think these are the two guiding questions that we must keep in mind as we move forward. What type of calendar would academically benefit the most while hurting the least? That's often the approach that education leaders take. Is there a way, potentially though, that we could come up with something, design a calendar in which no group is potentially disadvantaged in any way? I think that's the ultimate goal. And if nothing else tonight, I hope at least I've sparked the seed of an idea and to consider the possible future and changes, and how a calendar might impact not only your students, your children, but those of the greater community. So with that, I will close and turn the floor back over to Mr. Luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. At this point in time, we'll go to the public comment and communication part of our meeting. Before I turn it over to the public, there's a couple of things I would like to say. Since the last board meeting in March or in January, I've had numerous phone calls, emails, text messages, and meeting in person with people. Today I received, and I think a lot of the board did, 5 emails from individuals that I will make a part of our minutes. Those emails came from Amber Birch, Randy Braddock, Aaron Paddock, Cheyenne Garrison, and Marty Lackner Shield. The 5 emails are all opposed to the current calendar or the current proposed calendar. The main reasons are basically twofold. One is we are an ag community, 4-H, FFA, and just kids being at home on the ranch or the farm and taking care of things is important. Like it or not, people can say what they want, that Beaverhead County is ag. That's what we are. That's what makes this whole thing go, is agriculture. You look at the thousands of cows and thousands of tons of hay and thousands of bushels of grain. I mean, that's what we're all about. The other comment about opposition to the calendar is a lot of people don't see what benefit it would be to the students by starting a week early. We're currently ranked 12th in the state, high school wise academically. The ones higher than us are, with the exception, I believe, of one or AA schools, which can offer a lot more products than what we have. I was going to say I lost my train here. The other is financial to some degree. I mean, if we started a week early, we'd have to run school buses a week earlier. We'd have to run them a week later in the spring. The high school, where we own all the school buses, we do get reimbursed from the state, but that's still taxpayer dollars. I mean, we as individuals are still footing the bill for those. One of the other comments that I had, or several of the comments I had, was instead of starting a week early, a lot of people would like to go back and start the day after Labor Day, so we would be in the same calendar schedule as District 10 is. As you know, our current calendar that people appear to like is we start school the Monday before the fair. The kids get 2 or 3 days off during the fair, and we graduate on the Sunday of Memorial Day, which there again, people like that. Under the proposed calendar, we graduate a week early. A lot of people, if they have family and friends come for graduation, like it being the Sunday Memorial Day, because Monday is a holiday and those people to travel. Anyway, with that, I'm going to put these 5 emails as part of the minutes. I also visited with several staff members in person about their thoughts, and in all the comments and phone calls and emails and personal visits I've had, I've not had one person in favor of the proposed calendar. Everyone is opposed to it. With that being said, I'll turn this over to the public for comment. One thing I will say is, if everyone's saying the same thing, there's no sense to sit here all night and listen to everybody say the same thing. Once we've had 3 or 4 people speak, unless someone has something else that they feel is important that they'd like to talk about, that'll be that. So anyway, with that being said, who wants to be first? Diane, go ahead.
Erin Paddock. I guess I would just comment, I've already commented on the ag perspective and the effect that it would have, I think, on agricultural families. But the first slide shown tonight was the +10, -10 days for studying for exams. And what comes to mind with that is if we're worried about 10 days of preparation in the junior year, we haven't done our jobs in 9th grade and 10th grade to get them ready. And frankly, 10 days is not going to accelerate enough to make a difference in standardized test scores. So here again, we're teaching to the test. And I'm extremely opposed to that aspect. The kids get hands-on experience working. That's real experience. And that's why Beaverhead County high school students excel in college and beyond.
Thank you, Erin. Anyone else? Yes.
I don't know. Is there a place I'm supposed to stand? There. I feel like I'm kind of at a disadvantage because I missed the presentation because of the venue. Take that into consideration, please. when there's this many people, you ought to have a backup plan. This is,
Please identify yourself.
oh, I'm Morgan Sand.
Okay.
I live here.
Yeah.
So just to, not related to the school thing or the calendar thing, but I think the venue could be improved, when you have this many people stand up, multiple people in both halls. So, I came to the board meeting in last month, and, it was said about this topic that, the main concern is for the high school students, but there is no, but we don't, that's an improper way to say it. The elementary school, it affects the elementary school, but the main concern is the high school. But I'd like to point out that we are in the same community and it does affect it whether you like it or not. And if there's no concern for the elementary school, that should change, and we should have concern for the elementary school. It was very clearly stated that the only concern is high school, and that should be changed. And I kind of related note, maybe it's time to get one district. So they are working together and coordinated. Last time there was presented two options, and I think you only presented one. Is the other one abandoned? Is that what you said earlier?
Well, I presented two options to the staff, and the one that they voted on, the one that received the majority of the votes was the one I presented.
Okay, so that one is abandoned. And last time you did say you were going to present it to the teachers union. I think it was the teachers union or maybe the teachers in general. Was that ever done? Have the teachers been queried? Have they been polled, or do we know how the teachers feel about this?
I can speak on that.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
So I'm the president of the FT. And so I did put it out to the union. Out of 23 possible members, 20 responded back. Okay. What date do you prefer starting and ending? Current calendar. Teachers voted 65%, so that'd be 13. No preference would be 5, so that'd be 25%. And then 2 for the proposed calendar, and that was 10%. And obviously, a lot of the concerns came up as how would it affect our AGED students? Is that going to put a lot of pressure on them? I haven't come to school, get ready for our project. So once again, this is our preference. We were told this is kind of our last chance to, I guess, have a voice. So we did vote on one of them just to kind of go for the rest of it.
Okay.
So we did.
So, so the result was, what'd you say? How many percent voted?
So
not
16. So
16 of the 23 said no.
So, of the 20, this is just what we would prefer. Okay. So out of 20, 13 said we prefer the current calendar that we are on. Start before Labor Day and after. 5 had no preference, and then 2 preferred the proposed. As far as the vote, as far as the 2 that Mr. Patterson proposed, we had 16 in that meeting. 9 voted for the one that was adopted. 5 voted for the other.
All right.
So that's
So if the preference was by the teachers union, or is that fair to say it's for the teachers in general, or is the teachers union
the
different?
union represents all but 2 teachers.
Okay,
So I'd say that's fairly.
so the majority of them wanted to maintain it as it is, but if they had to choose between those 2 changes, they would.
That is correct.
So sounds like how many times did it go through the polling?
We third time is when we got that time.
So the third time it was denied, it was not approved.
So first one, and that was proposed even a week earlier. That one got rejected. And then the second one was over uneven semesters. And then we went back with the third one. That's the one.
Okay. So it sounds like it was not well received by the teachers union, and well, I guess I'm another vote for that, not really in favor for it. Another thing I wondered if it was considered is if you're starting earlier in August, is there a air conditioning system in this building? I've been in here when it's been pretty stinking hot. Is there AC? Anybody? I don't know.
2 rooms, I believe.
No,
2 rooms?
2 rooms.
I think there's 2.
I
Yeah.
think.
All right, so that might be an issue we might need to address before this is changed and enacted. Also, will the athletic schedule, so in late August, they're usually doing 2-a-days for football. Is that going to be changed to do before school and after school? Is that the thing that's going to be well received? I don't know if that's a positive step. And then at the end of the year, the current calendar as it's proposed, all the state tournaments happen after the high school or the seniors leave. Is that what I saw right? I'm not proficient at this. I'm not well versed
Probably, yeah.
in school stuff. So the seniors are gonna graduate and come back for another week to play sports.
That's happening right now.
Yeah, it's happening this year with this calendar.
All right. And it's
6, 7.
okay, and then so I did see in the calendar when I looked at it, we're adding 5 days in August, cutting off 5 days in June. And the attached reference material said, it was the article called long-term breaks, and it said the hazards of long-term breaks. If you add this week in August and you take off a week in June, correct me if I'm wrong, math says that summer's the same length. And I don't see how that's a benefit. I think when I was a kid, there was probably some dude told me, I think it was a teacher actually, I learned something in school, the teacher said, oh yeah, then when they're talking about daylight savings time, an Indian said, cutting off an hour in the front and adding it to the end, it makes the blanket longer, or you cutting off a foot of the blanket in the front end, adding it to the end of the blanket makes it longer. I don't see a benefit there. Cutting off, adding to the front and adding it to or taking off for the other end doesn't really, I don't see a difference in the summer break, and you don't see how that would change. Let's see here. Another reference in that article said a lot of the nation started earlier, and that report attached here. And this was kind of interesting to study because in this one that you referenced on there, it said there's actually 400, 500, 600, 620 some odd districts in Montana. And when you talked about it last time, there was 500. And if I looked up online, there's 400. It's really hard to, I'm not quite sure how many districts there are in Montana, but it said half or 85% start August 16th, August 31st. So we already fall in that. So that doesn't defend one way or the other starting earlier.
I believe those reference individual schools and not individual students.
Okay, maybe that's the case.
There's a misunderstanding.
Okay, and maybe that's the case. And that, so whether it's districts or schools, there's a pile of them. And we already fall in the reference range that is supposed to justify the moving, accelerating the date. I saw no benefit there. And you mentioned the ACT, and I guess I wanted to learn a little bit more about that. When do they take the ACT test?
Hang up the calendar.
I couldn't because standing in the hallway.
It's April 8th this year.
April 8th. Okay, that was references part of the study, so we should have plenty of time to.
I believe our AP exams are first week of May.
Okay. That's all I had. It didn't come out very smooth. It was much smoother in my head. But let's see, maybe I have some more. Oh, the reference in the article also said compete with foreign scholarships or compete with scholarships for colleges within the Montana University system. And I think you did state that if we started earlier, we might be able to apply for college credit courses. But it was may not, and maybe we ought to find out if that's a solid thing, if it's possible to do that before we change it. Because last month when you talked about it, it was stated that they all started way earlier than we did, and I looked and they all start pretty much the same time, late August. Let's see here, and then another one. I guess I was talking about it's in the meeting. All right, that's all. So vote not for it, and I don't see the benefit overall.
Thank you, Mr. Sindel. Anyone else have anything to say?
I have a question. Terrence Wallstead. Of those 47% of kids that aren't involved in ag or farm ranch life, of those kids, how many of those go out to the ranches?
So when I was doing the research, I was trying to find out eventually any kid involved with ag related, whether that's haying, with irrigation pipe.
Right, but what percentage of our students? Because you said 47% are not involved. So what of that?
Well, I just separated them all out into percentages. So the percentage I had separated out were the only ones that we could clearly define. And I even added an extra 15 kids to that just because we weren't 100% sure. That would be potentially involved in that.
Okay.
But I mean, if anybody has any better numbers, and I'm going to learn to understand this issue here, my goal is to make sure all students have an opportunity to learn and grow and have all the opportunities potentially available to them. And so that's what I hope to work for. This is obviously a very unique community. And this process is something I learned a lot more about the importance of that, about the importance of 4-H or FFA programs, and just how involved everyone is. So those are the best numbers I have. If anybody has anything else they'd like to share, any better numbers, I would certainly be interested in those.
Thank you, Tony.
I'm Randy Braddock, and I have a daughter who will be a freshman next year, so that's why I have interest in this topic. But I think I also bring a different perspective. I was an educator in New Mexico for 5 years, and then I did early intervention in the homes for 5 years. New Mexico is a very impoverished state. They are very low on the education scale. And so I've been witness and firsthand experience to the school year being moved earlier and earlier and earlier. And that's my concern in our community, is that if we give an inch, eventually we may take a mile. So we may be only asking for 7 days this year, but are we eventually going to be starting at the beginning of August with teachers coming back in July? That's what's happening in New Mexico right now. And so students only get June and July. Teachers don't even get all of July. So that's my concern as a former teacher. Also, the demographics that we dealt with in New Mexico, I had 70% free and reduced lunch students. I had 25% ESL students. So totally different set of challenges. Our school was rated, I think, a D. And so we were under action where we had to reform, our strategies, and extending the school year was part of that strategy. My question to you is, what's the push behind this? Is there something statistically in the data that you're seeing where our students are weak and not getting enough support? Is that the reason, or is it merely just the test? Because our kids are more than a test, and I'm concerned that, like it was said before, that we're teaching to the test. I did some research on this topic. You received my letter. I don't know if you've had time to read it, but a more effective strategy, if we want our students to do well during the day, is to start their day later. Get more sleep. They're better behavior-wise. They're more cognitively aware. They have better attention span, and they perform better overall. So I encourage you to read my letter. Go take a look at the study, and I oppose the early school year.
Would you like me to respond? Do you want to?
If you would like, of course.
Yeah.
I'd love to have dialogue.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing right now, look, our kids are performing awesome, excellent, right? But my job is not, I want to assess how we're doing right now or how we're performing in the past, but what also lies in the future. And so I do feel like with the rapid advance of technology and AI, and it's been the hottest topics here since I've arrived, not necessarily in Dillon, Montana, but in all the major conferences I've attended. How are we prepared? What are we going to do? I do think there's a strong possibility within the next 3 to 5 years, maybe sooner, that University of Montana and MSU may start offering fully online dual enrollment classes available to high school students. A lot of other states do that. I'm sure a lot of the southern states do. Areas that have urban population, that's an option. And so another reason for aligning our schedule or calendar closer with the university system is so our students would already be in school when those classes potentially begin. So that was just one thing. We're performing very, very well right now. there are some things in the school district that I'm concerned about, the fact that we don't have an intervention program, we don't have a tier 2 program. And that's something I've observed immediately. So I think it was mentioned in one of the letters that I've received, of which I think I received at least maybe 12 emails over the course of the past, I don't know, 6 or 7 days. And some of you that are in this room. But I think that it's important that we address, we plan for that. We have planned for the future, but we prepare for that. And so, and again, I just go back to, it also benefits us because the more kids have to prepare, the more successful they'll be. So in everything. I mean, I would add that, we already have 30% of our students are already here involved in sports activities. Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong or what the answer is, what calendar it worked the best for all. It's my job to listen, understand, and try to create and come up with a calendar that is hopefully benefits all students, if not all students, the vast majority. So thank you very much, Raymond. Sure.
I know ag students have been talked about a lot, but I think we're also forgetting about the students who have summer jobs, maybe like working in a daycare, looking at the YMCA summer camp. Those employers depend on them until elementary school starts. And so if they're having to come to school a little bit earlier, employers may be impacted as well.
Thank you. Jim, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just reinforcing on the ag thing. Just to remind you, when I was younger, when I graduated, all my buddies and friends, we all ended up changing water, and that was starting in June. Nowadays, a lot of things have changed. You're usually done farming, pretty much wrapped up by the 25th of May. And everything nowadays, a lot of it's under pivot. So you don't really need that much help changing water. When you really do need the help is when I went back to school. I went to school in Butte, and I was leaving right around the 17th to 18th to go back to high school in Butte. All my other buddies, they didn't start till after Labor Day back then. And that's when the combine was running and we were haying, and trying to really push through and all that stuff. So the schedule to bump it back, you're more advantaged to have more time in the fall. And I got an earful of that from a couple of my cousins here in the last couple of days talking about this subject. So just that's kind of how that schedule worked anyway. So
thank you. Yes.
Sorry, Susan, I had a couple of comments. So I agree with the kids working. I have 2 boys that work all summer. And that is part of preparing them to be good people too, and to learn how to function in society, is learning how to have a job. More questions too. My kids have not gone to school in Montana. They've gone to universities in Utah and other schools with pre-med and other things. So to gear everything towards kids going to Montana schools, I think you need to remember there's a broader array of kids and professions they might do. That's something to consider. Also, having the ACT and AP test, if they're at the end of the year, they have most of the school year to prepare for those. I don't see adding 5 days before to be effective with that. Like the comment was made, they should have those things learned and skills done. And the other thing also too, I looked online when it was said that there was, 47% of the numbers were the schools that start later or earlier than us. And I just looked at maybe our top, I looked at 10 schools that we compete with, just in sports or different things. All of them start later than we do now, or even the same time as we do. And that was 10 out of 10. So I think some of the numbers might be a little skewed. Maybe some of the resources might be a little bit off in that regard. So I'm against the calendars doing early and maybe everybody's input.
Thank you.
I had a question about the AP
Identify,
classes. Sorry, Shelley Broder. What number of kids are taking AP courses? I mean, hopefully a lot. And then is there any reason why, if school hasn't started, if these kids are choosing to do so, they can't start those AP courses earlier? I mean, if it's an online course through the university system, do they have to have school started here?
Our AP courses, not all of them, but many are taught by a few are taught by our teachers. And so our teachers instruct those AP courses. We do have some that are online, and they kind of have a window that opens as well. So through Montana,
They do enrollment, I'm sorry.
okay, through Montana Digital Academy, and it's the same with dual enrollment. All of our current dual enrollment classes through Western are taught by teachers that are in the classroom. And that's largely because Western has that unique block scheduling system. So starting earlier would not help us align necessarily to Western in terms of dual enrollment. We would still have to provide those dual enrollment classes through our own teachers in the classroom. What I'm talking about is fully online programs that are taught essentially like several programs during COVID, we actually fully online. And so, for example, some of our courses right now in Montana Digital Academy are completely online. Now, how UM or MSU, how they want to convey that instruction, that would be largely up to them. I've taken some in my experience, and it's an online course. You get on with the professor, they're on the video screen, and you provide a dialogue. You have a lecture and discussion, and then you have projects and assignments that you have to submit, and things of that nature. One other thing that I would add, Shelby, is, and I've failed to mention before, is that another reason for starting earlier is it's not just to add days for the sake of adding days. Currently, in the 3 days we have, we're able to get all of our orientation done. So we get our expectations across, we do our freshman orientation just by themselves. It's great, it's the experience. We also get a MBI procedures. We really set the tone for what we expect, go over our student handbook. That's about the bulk of what we can accomplish in those 3 days, mostly administrative type things. By starting earlier, we can get our baseline assessment testing completed. Nobody wants to talk about that, but guess what? If you're an educator, and some of you are, or at least a former educator, they're required. You have to do them. The sooner we get that baseline testing completed, the sooner we can analyze that data, identify our deficiencies, and begin planning targeted instruction to address those deficiencies. I think we can do all of that before Fair and Labor Day, and then start real instruction after.
So, part of the issue was then retention, right? Coming back from summer, but you're going to test them immediately coming back from summer when the retention's an issue?
That's the goal. So I think we have a disconnect in understanding what the purpose of assessment is. And that depends on the time of the year that you get the assessment. See, baseline testing is just to do that. You're establishing a baseline. I want to know what they know right when they get back from break, right? That's going to give me the clearest picture of where they're at. Then that's how I can more specifically tailor that instruction. I know what their strengths are, I've identified their weaknesses, and I think that's the best path in moving forward. So that's what the purpose of it is, baseline only. And in a winter or spring test, that's when I'm looking for achievement. How far have we come? What have we learned in that period of time?
Erin, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I was actually going to ask the question I think that Shelley was alluding to, or maybe that, but the dual enrollment, is there something that prevents our students? I think you answered it, because no, there's not anything that moving our calendar would do to affect dual enrollment classes currently.
Not currently, no. And again, I have to believe as an education leader, part of my job is assessing foresight.
Then I would ask that question, would it matter?
Yes, it would.
If they were taking an online class from a university, whatever university that would be, in a dual enrollment capacity, would they have to be doing it from this building when school is in session?
I see. Thank you for the clarification. No, they wouldn't have to. We often set up our students for that process. We walk them through that. That's what we've done historically before I even arrived. So we help prepare them. We kind of hold their hand a little bit until they get used to that. But you're right. And technically, they wouldn't have to be physically in the building.
And students who are taking dual enrollment classes probably make less than many other students might.
Yes.
Jill Nagel. I just have a totally different perspective. I obviously support the ag community as well, but my kids are not involved in ag. But a few things that come to my mind are, you mentioned that you're losing kids to online programs. I obviously can't speak for that. My kids are both enrolled in school, public school. However, I have one kid in particular who on a regular basis is begging me to do online school. School is not fun for him. It is not enjoyable. I have another kid who thrives in school, and that's great, but Unfortunately, I have 4 more years with one who is not pleased to be coming to school every day. I'm extremely concerned about the idea of putting kids like that in additional hours of instruction. It's a battle. If you have a kid like that, you might understand it is a battle. And saying to them, oh, by the way, now your summer's cut short, another 10, 15 days, whatever it ends up being. You got to go to school earlier. It's just, again, that constant nag on these kids who are not thriving on the idea of going to a classroom every day, who are more suited for the outdoors, sports, activities, whatever it might be. I'm terrified about this idea. I know that sounds a little dramatic, but if you lived in my house, you would understand. It's additional time in a classroom. It's additional time behind a computer. It's additional time with your family. So I think you're losing kids because kids don't want to be here 8 hours a day, and they sure as heck don't want to be here cutting into their summertime. Now, I recognize that school has to happen. So I'm not suggesting something otherwise, but I think that that's a great possibility that if you call those people up, they're going to say, I got to have the flexibility, and I got a kid who doesn't want to be in a classroom all day, because I'm in that boat and I understand why people are doing that. The second concern I have is frankly family time. It's kind of lost, I guess, in this, but this is my second meeting tonight. Haven't been home tonight other than at 4:30 to 5. And that's just the reality of what we live in. That's not unique to me. You have all these other parents in the same boat. Some of these parents were at the meeting with me at 5:30 as well for the senior class. I say that to say we have very little time with our family as is. I got a kid graduating this year, so it's at the forefront of my mind that that time is gone. And August is precious. And already in high school, you lose a bunch of August if your kid played with fall sport. And frankly, when that happened my kid's freshman year, I was pretty angry because August is precious, especially in Montana. It's a beautiful time of year. It's one of our only times a year to spend time as a family. You don't have the June camps rush. You don't have the July, 4th of July hustle. And finally, you feel like you can settle in a little bit and enjoy your summer. So I'm significantly concerned about losing that additional family time. From my perspective, we don't get enough as it is because of the daily life. And I don't want that taken from me any more than it already is. A couple hours for sports, maybe a golf tournament or whatever it is one thing, but the entire day for school bothers me. So I would just ask that you consider those other perspectives. I think there's a significant push for ag. I think there's a significant push for, what are the benefits, but you got a lot of kids. I would surmise, I don't have data for you guys. I'm not a teacher. I would surmise you have a lot of kids similar to one of my children who is not interested in coming here every day. And anything I can do to keep that kid interested is my job. I got to keep you interested because I can't lose you sophomore year when you decide that you're going to go work on a ranch and suddenly you know what it's like to make money. So I'm just telling you, like there's a battle that parents are facing if they have a kid who's active and wild and has a hard time sitting behind a screen. And that's where we're pushing. The world is pushing. I mean, I'm doing it myself. I'm behind a screen all day. Then you got your phone and then you got a meeting and then there's a screen here and it's just constant. And I think that what you're hearing from this community is we really want our kids to learn how to be outside and we want them to get back to the basics of how we all grew up. And that's not going to happen if we push them into a classroom for more time. So I would just ask you to consider that other perspective as well.
So am I correct in hearing from you, Jill, that it would be safe to say that a one size fits all approach no longer works?
Yeah.
And I would agree. So I really appreciate you coming to share that comment. And I think that, again, kind of it shares some similarities with the ag community, is that it doesn't work anymore. And so I think we are going to start thinking about alternatives to the current way we provide education. This is down the road. This is where I could use your help. I don't feel like we have a system that works for all kids right now. As an educator, that drives me crazy. I also want you to remember that I also have kids in the school district too. I've got a 6th grader who is that kid you're talking about. We are fighting to keep him in school. He's been in homeschool. He's been in public school. He's on a reservation with me. And I'm doing everything I can to keep him out of Mr. Rogers' office. I get it. I understand it, that the struggle is real. I've also got an 8th grader who's going through orientation in the coming weeks. And I've got a freshman this year too. And I've got a senior graduating back in Georgia that tears my heart out that we can't I'll be there together. We gave that option to stay, either come with us or stay for a senior year. So I understand the challenges, and I do believe that we need to look for solutions as we move forward. There may be a little more outside the box, and I hope I can enlist your support in coming up with some of those ideas, because I certainly do not have them all. So.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything any different than what we've already said? Mrs. Sampson?
I would just speak to Jill that I have a daughter that is now homeschooled at most of the day because of the reason where, like today, for example, she went to her first period here and did nothing. And so I feel like because you guys had to take pictures or something, so she didn't get instruction. I think that the amount of time actually spent in school that they actually are not getting instruction is what causes a handful of those kids to say, this is boring, I don't want to do this, I can do this at home and I can be done in, I mean, she'll probably be done with the semester of work halfway through the semester because that's just how she operates. I think to your point, we are not teaching to the masses, but we already have a lot of wasted time within those time periods. I don't think adding more days is going to be beneficial.
Thank you. Cheyenne?
I think it makes sense, but I just want to make sure that I'm not sure anyone mentioned. I think we really need to also recognize that we have a grade school on a different schedule if we do this, and that's important. I mean, we have families who have kids in both schools, and that creates problems too. Even though you might lengthen the spring break, if the grade school schedule is different, that's not going to leave any more availability for families to go on trips or do things together. So I just wanted to make sure that's.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that's in favor of the proposed calendar? Okay. Josh, want to raise your hand?
Chantal Pilan. I, of course, agree with everybody that has said something so far with being opposed. It just doesn't work. I will have 2 kids in high school next year and still 1 in the grade school, so that doesn't matter. I feel like I was hoping to get more answers when I came tonight, but I feel like I have more questions. I feel like we haven't been provided with enough information to why you think this might work. I guess I just still feel a little bit lost. I definitely appreciate where you're coming from and would like to hear more. I don't think it's something that our community as a whole is too happy about supporting, and it's just not going to.
Thank you, Chantal. And I guess if anybody has any further questions or concerns, you should schedule a time to meet with Dr. Patterson and come in and let him further explain it to you. Does any of the faculty have any comments or thoughts, anything anybody want to say? Emma, from a student standpoint, you're an athlete and a scholar and on student council.
As a student that isn't as involved in sports, I am a cheerleader, but I'm also involved in band and choir and a bunch of clubs and all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely a lot of other student involvement with club activities and music activities and other things going on. So I feel like other students being represented in that way would be good.
One other thing I forgot to mention.
Yes, Chantal.
Did we ask our bus drivers about the change? I know we have a hard enough time trying to find bus drivers.
You need to drive 2 more weeks.
Yeah, just curious if they have had an opportunity to voice their.
My dad's a bus driver and he's not excited about it. But that's only one, but I will say that.
My children are also bus riders and so until I allow them. I'm just worried about that too.
I would like to thank you all for coming. I wanted to ask if any of the board members, if any of you have anything you'd like to say or add to it or comment about.
I believe so.
I think the biggest thing I would say is in a community this size, I think collaboration is key. Figuring out ways to do just this, to hear from everybody, to have conversations. I think that anytime in the position I'm in, you ever tried to make a decision without bringing all the people in to have feedback, it can be challenging. And so I think it's fantastic that this many people showed up to share their feedback. It's awesome.
I have one or two, especially has there been much collaboration with the Bill and Elementary School District? Because usually, I know usually you plan. Has that happened?
I've talked to one of their school board members and they want to stay their calendar the way it is starting the day after Labor Day, is what she told me.
So, but I guess my question is, I don't feel like there's been that interaction and that collaboration with the other school districts.
Mr. Patterson.
So we met on January 6th. In discussion at that time, we've been going back and forth on the phone and emailing ever since. Even with the last proposal, we were able to align our calendars in terms of breaks within 2 days. There was potential that District 10 would maybe be able to get it within 1 day. So I am working with them. If we ever consider an earlier start in the future, though, I believe it would behoove District 10 to be a little more flexible. Now's not the time. And so here, would you allow me to say a quick closing?
Sure.
So again, I would like to thank everybody for coming tonight. If there's one thing that I've learned in this process, again, is that one size doesn't fit all. And so I believe that the current proposal as it stands needs further revision. And I have you to thank in large part because of that. The emails, the phone calls, and your attendance here tonight. I want you to know that it was very important. And I can promise you that I will go back and make revisions. I also now understand, and not fully yet, I need to get on some branches, need to do some more work within the elementary. How far reaching these decisions go. And I have a better sense of the numbers. If anybody has more specific numbers, I would like to hear from them. But I do think it's important to protect our time in August for our ag community. I do think it's important to provide more options academically for our students in the future. And I hope to work with you all moving forward in the creation of future calendars by having maybe some listening sessions with the ag community and with parent groups. What I'd really like to do is, if we're ever going to consider change, is maybe consider the idea, and Roxanne came up with this, of a 2-year calendar approach. That way change can be made incrementally, and anything that might be, we could prepare more for it in advance if it was something that may be a little more difficult, because if we've already made plans, we already have things already scheduled. So I look forward to working with you all in the future. And I'd like to once again thank you for coming tonight. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Email me, call me, stop by for a visit. Thanks again, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. Going to the assistant principal report, Mr. Heaton. Sorry.
It's wise. It's fairly consistent. Obviously, you can see it's now 88% for that's the last board meeting to this board meeting. But if you look the last week, there were low numbers, and I think that's happening everywhere. People I talk to at the elementary levels, and there's like kids going this thickness. Yeah. It's but hopefully the next week or so it'll pick back up. But I'm going. I think I just said it. Or just it's been pretty consistent. It's gonna pick back up. Right? Just gonna keep that's one ring off the hook. Then we have on the very last page kind of those behaviors and incidences. Once again, starting to and then that number 88, it's not the total number of tardies. That is basically in groups of 4. So each time during the infraction, and student gets up to 4 tardies, that's when the infraction occurs, and that's when they go into the outer school, and that's when they make that chart. So just you multiply that by about 4, and that's kind of what those letters are. And that's what that is. Cell phones have crept up a little bit, but very, very consistent throughout the year. And then what we have also on the 18th, we kind of talked about it, they have kids coming up from the 8th grade. We are going to have our 8th grade registration night on the 18th. We'll meet in the auditorium at 6 o'clock. Miss Rouse and I will address students, talk about scheduling. In years past, we've actually had Chromebooks there so that kids can actually put their information in the computer. Because we are switching over to a campus, that won't happen until about April, and so we're just going to have them do the registration, and so they'll be registering, they'll fill out the paperwork. There's a lot of classes that they have to take, and then they'll have a few options on electives. But there's a lot of people that are want to make sure that those classes will come. It's just going to be a little while. It's not going to be. They probably will not have their schedules before the end of the school year. We've always tried to do that, but with the new campus and the transition over to have their Pat, any questions?
Any idea how many 8th graders there are?
No. It's consistent.
One of the grades is huge. I don't think it's
Yeah,
8 grade. I think it's 6 or
I think it's 6th grade. Yeah, right.
travel around.
Are there very many rural 8th graders, or do we know that?
Yes, we have, I believe it's 5, 6. Yeah, so we reached out. Might be the.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Hankins? We none will go on to the activities director report. Rod?
Right. It's kind of brief, but we did have a state champion in speech and drama. Lila Giverson won from drama 2. I believe Black Triplets actually took 7th in that, so gained some ground on some of those competitors. The drama team won the Western A Divisional and then placed 3rd at the state meet. So very proud of all those kids and Coach Blunt and what they accomplished this season. I kind of just laid out the boys and girls basketball standings so you can see that. Want to put your eyes on that. The divisional set for March 5th through the 7th in Hamilton, state the 12th through the 14th in Great Falls. Really gearing up for this weekend is divisional wrestling. We have 12 other schools joining us here this weekend for fun 2 days of wrestling. Starts at 3 on Friday and 9 a.m. on Saturday. I know every motel's booked, so should be a fun weekend of wrestling. If you can swing in and take a glimpse of that. Kind of the Paul test to see if a gym our size can handle this. So making some decisions based on how we perform this weekend. So
How many mats will you have?
we're doing 4 mats.
Boys and girls together?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep. Spring sports are set to begin Monday, March 16th. So right around the corner. All I have, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. Did I see where Frenchtown Heat Youth Center was?
Yes, by like
25.
Really?
Is it what?
Interesting. Okay, anybody have any questions for Brock? If not, we'll go to consent agenda items. We don't have any, right? Nope, we got none. Action items, we have one, I guess.
We have 10.1 board consideration possible approval of the district's TR6 transportation reimbursement claim. It's just one page. What is this? The lightest agenda we'll ever have.
This is the reimbursement we get back from the state, correct?
That correct, Suzanne?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. That reimburses our transportation fund because we're paying for it as we go along.
I'm pretty sure they give us at the start of the semester partial,
I think.
and then we fill this out to give us the remainder.
Okay.
And then same thing will happen.
And it's based on miles driven per day by our representative drivers. Dan or Josh on the reimbursement claims for the buses?
He's very.
Oh, man.
Pardon.
Thank God. Sometimes the drugs.
He leaves here and drives out, doesn't he, every day? I would imagine.
Tell them to start, I think, before 6. Wisdom out, and we give it.
Yeah. Start pulling the heads from Melrose, please. Right before me sometimes, before me to 6.
I don't know if it's still true, but at one time the Wisdom route was the longest route in the nation.
I heard.
I don't know if that's true, but probably so. Okay, we do need a motion if someone is.
Second. The reimbursement.
Then moved and second to approve the bus route reimbursement claim for the first semester. Any other questions? Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That's unanimously. Have anything else to come before the board other than Mike, you and I need to try to look at these in the next couple of days. Do you have any idea what day you want to meet with our group?
Either Wednesday or Thursday, I think.
In the afternoon.
Same thing on Thursday. Either Thursday afternoon. Booked up solid tomorrow.
I guess it'd be nice if we could meet on Wednesday to give them our selected candidates time to get scheduled. So you want to try to meet it Wednesday at 3:30 then?
How about 3:45? Something possible like this.
Fine with me.
Wednesday, 3:45.
Okay. Right. Is there any other business to come before the board? If not, we'll adjourn until March 9th at the same place.
You need a motion?
Please.
So moved. Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you guys. Have a good evening.